tell me about the environment that raised you. How was it? Because you're saying from a very early age, your condition was detected. What do you remember from when your vision was stronger than what it is now?
So yeah, I had partial vision for that, I guess, that younger part of my life. And so I was diagnosed at the age of 3. And that was due to my parents noticing that I wasn't really focusing on things very well. I was bumping into things a little bit. And so my parents, in their wisdom, decided that they would take me to the family doctor, which ended up being referred on to a specialist. And I was diagnosed at the age of 3. We were living in Wellington at the time, and I guess in the 70s, there wasn't much in the way of support at the time to support my vision-related needs. And so my parents decided that we'd pack up and move from Wellington to Auckland, where much of the supports was based. And so I remember going to school. I was mainstreamed at primary school, intermediate school, and a small part of my college, high school life. I did have supports. I remember having what they used to call an itinerant teacher back in the day. They call them resource teachers with a vision now. But I had an itinerant teacher come to provide, just a little bit of support and advice to make it a little bit easier for me when I was in class. Things around, the teacher would be making sure that I was sitting at the front of the class so that I would see the blackboard, making sure that when things were written for me, that it was written large enough and in a darker color so that I would see the contrast and be able to read along with the rest of the kids in the class. My parents, they tried to normalize my life as much as they could. I guess there were some expectations of me as there was of my older siblings. But at the same time, they kind of balanced that with their understanding of what blindness was and what and I guess the impacts. And so I guess I wasn't disciplined as much as my older siblings were. And I guess that I was given a few more chances to do things. I think in my standard 4 year, what year is that? Year 6 now. I remember being invited to go to class camp, and my parents, that was the first time I was ever going to be away from home for anything longer than a night, let alone being away from family. And so my parents were very reluctant to let me go. And I guess if it wasn't for an auntie of mine, I don't know how my life would have looked growing up, especially in my younger years.
What would you say, and what have you identified as part of your superpowers?
I would say that my lived experience is my superpower, especially when it comes to unpacking the stigma when engaging with our Pacifica community, being I guess a living example of that there is life beyond blindness, there is life beyond disability, and it's just about being supported to create the opportunities, or having those opportunities to grow and to develop and just be a general contributor to society. And like you were saying, when I became a father and being able to instill both, I guess my view as someone who just happens to be blind or happens to have a disability, to someone who wants to be able to try and nurture my children and be able to give them the best, so that they can grow to become good people as well. And that, that's probably the thing that my parents tried to do for me growing up.
I forgot to ask you this, but out of you and your siblings, um, are there any that acquired or were born with the same
No,
challenge?
no. So I'm the only one. There is a number of nieces and nephews, or great nieces and great nephews that have acquired a vision impairment, which is probably closely linked to my particular eye condition. But no one from my own immediate family, so none of my siblings, none of their children, and none of my children. My oldest boy did acquire a different eye condition, but he inherited that through his mother. Yeah, it's kind of a unique perspective of sorts, but at the same time, it's just kind of like trying to do my best to navigate the world as the world continues to change, and then how do I do that to best manage my own self, but also at the same time try and be impactful to support my children, my family.
You know, you were talking before about the societal stigma, right? And we know that not only as Pacific Islanders, but also as people who grow up in a Western society like Aotearoa, where would you say were sort of the biggest challenge when it comes to the stigma that you and your family encountered as part of your journey from birth right up until now? And how did you manage it, overcome it, or just build a different bridge and how to deal with it all?
I think the biggest barrier when I was growing up was definitely around attitude, and the attitude towards uh, what people with disabilities were only good were good at doing, and there was a very limited list of things that I guess myself, I was told that I could do, and there was probably a lack of awareness and understanding at the time. Um, I remember when I started losing my vision. I guess I lost a lot of my vision when I was 14, 15. At that time, my family were very much into sports. One of my brothers was playing rugby, the other one was playing basketball, and I wanted to be like them. You know, they were my role models growing up, and I wanted to play sport. And so I was looking for something to participate in. And through a family member, I was introduced to Olympic freestyle wrestling. At the time, I was the only active Olympic freestyle wrestler in New Zealand. So a lot of all the tournaments that I participated in, I wrestled against those that are able-bodied, for want of a better term, and was able to do reasonably well and compete here nationally and internationally. Lost more fights than I won, but it definitely gave me an experience, and it really stimulated my inner being in terms of being able to succeed in sports. So I guess that's an example of what I meant by sort of around the attitude, and just sort of the creating of opportunities in my employment life, my early employment life. I was really gunning to, for a full-time job, because I wanted to earn money like every other young person. And I interviewed for a job to be a taxi dispatcher. At the time, to be a taxi dispatcher, you had to read streetwise maps, understand where all the roads were, and be able to navigate through all the different bids that taxis would pass through on the RT, so that you could choose which one was the closest to the address. And there was a reluctance at the time to take me on, because they didn't know how to best support me, or whether that I was actually going to be able to do the job. I put it out there that, look, I would work voluntarily for 6 months so that I could get my foot in the door, but also learn the ropes. And thankfully, I was given the opportunity, and they employed me after 3 months, and was able to be there, was able to stay there for a period of 5 years before I moved on to my next job. So it was really very much around attitude, and trying to steer attitudes in a direction where I was able to get the opportunities that I felt that I deserved. I say often to a lot of people that I guess where we are in terms of attitude and awareness is where we should have been 20, 30 years ago. So there's still very much I guess progress at a snail's pace. But at least I'm thinking that hopefully that the snail is moving forwards rather than backwards.
Based on that particular job, when you first applied for it, then are they more equipped now to take on someone with vision impairment to do the same job as a taxi dispatcher than it was then when you first applied?
Yeah, I think that, and technology has a big part to play in that, and the availability and I guess the ease of access around a lot of technology. Um, it's made it a lot easier to be able to have those conversations about the realities of being able to pick up those jobs. I know of totally blind people who are engineers, and I guess roles like that outside of the stereotypical telephonist, administrator, lawyer. My parents wanted me to be a doctor when I grew up. I don't know why, but I guess that's one thing about my parents. And when I was saying earlier about how they try to normalize my life, they try to have their expectations of what they wanted me to be when I grew up, so that I was able to be part of the community. I guess that's kind of that whole movement around Tangata Saili Malo in terms of their pursuit of success. Because their pursuit of success was always my drive in life, to try and prove the naysayers wrong, try to prove to myself that, yep, I can do it, or yep, I can do it, but there's with support. But either way, it's just about progressing forward for me, and being a better person than I was yesterday.
You were just talking about how mom and dad equipped the environment that you sort of walked into to try and help you accumulate whatever it is that you could have walked into as you got older. But for me, my curiosity says, so in saying that, what did you want it to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a sound engineer. I've had a love for music since I was introduced to playing the piano and being voluntold to sing at church and that kind of thing, along with many of our other Pacifica brothers and sisters. But yeah, I just had this fascination for music, how music was produced, and that kind of thing. Before that, when I was in high school, I actually wanted to be a physiotherapist. My subjects that I took at school, at high school, was steering towards that. However, as things do when you're young, priorities change and goals change, and I suddenly wanted to be a sound engineer. Unfortunately, as I said, sort of around the attitudes and the lack of awareness back in those days, when I left high school, supports in the adult education space was very limited. I think back in my seventh form year 13, we had as part of our career pathways, we had work experience or work shadowing, and I got to go to spend a day at the Otara Music and Arts Centre and be with one of the sound engineers, Ina George, and sat with him. And up there, I was able to ask questions and absorb everything I could in a day, and that just really stimulated my passion to try and pursue that dream. But not all dreams come true, and I guess it's just an opportunity to seek, I guess, my other destinies, which would just happen to be people. I think all of those experiences, I can confidently say it's helped to shape me, who I am today. Still got a lot of learning, but don't we all? Still got a lot of growing, but don't we all? But you know, while there's lots of work to do, there's lots of life to live.
Look at you, you little wise bunny. With Tōfā Mamao, it's always it's about the person that's impacted, the carers, and then the families, right? So we've always, recognized the support of family and friends, and not just the successes, but in just trying to navigate along our journey. So with that in mind, we do have a lot of young families that probably at this very moment in time are encountering or hearing for the first time that their child or their loved one is now either acquired or a brand new born baby and just walk into this world of challenges, which means their path into the accepted normalcy in their mind is now going to look different than what they were expecting. What would be your advice for family with regards to the support for the impacted individual?
I would really encourage families to really take advantage of the supports that are out there. They're out there for everybody. They're not there to exclude our tangata saili malo, our mawhakainga, our carers. They're there to be able to help to build a new perspective on the way of life for the family. And while I understand that it's challenging to navigate the space at times and understand all the bits and bobs when it comes to the support, we do have services there that help. There are services out there that do support or can support our families to navigate and understand what they can access. I only look back again 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't as much of that support, knowledge and information out there to support our families. And my parents really relied on their understanding of the Western world, as well as linking or engaging in the support from our wider family, that kind of thing. Whereas now there's a lot more support to access information now, and You know, uh, I guess another thing that I'd like to encourage families is to try and create a normal space. And there is no hard and fast rule of what normal should look like. Normal should, in my view, should look how it should look within the family space. You know, um, my normal in my home probably no doubt looks different to the normal in your home, but it's the normal that helps my family to grow and to thrive and be safe. Um, and so yeah, just being able just be able to create that normal space as best you can, and um, reach out. A lot of our ainga out there probably think that they're the only ones out there that are experiencing the challenges. And so we have a lot of families out there, and it's about connecting. And um, it's important to be able to connect, because that helps also to build strength and perseverance within the family unit as well.
This is a conversation with you to sort of look into your eight ball of what's in it that brought you from the then to the now. And you put it rightly, like it looks different for everyone. And I think for me, there is no right answer. It's just attitudes and behaviors, and there's more details now. There's a lot more now than it was before.
Absolutely.
Not that it makes it any easier, because as you said, when it comes to norm, it depends on our impacted family member. And
Yeah.
so, and what I've also noticed is that uh, the kind of planning, the movement around to accommodate, that's when what you said comes true. It's absolutely different for everyone. And I guess finding that winning is the combination to seeing what normalcy will look like based on what you have and who's in the
Absolutely.
have. So yeah, no, it's sometimes it just requires for us to talk it out. I mean, you touched on attitude and behaviors. And so the question is, so what makes a good attitude and what makes a bad one?
Yep. And I think the openness to have that conversation, the openness to have that courageous conversation, um, and the openness to be able to receive knowledge, to not be so reluctant to learning. Throughout my journey, and this is with my family as well. We've done things, we've made mistakes along the way. We've had a few setbacks along the way, but that's all part and parcel of the growing and the strengthening of the collective and of that connection. Um, you know, and so even without those setbacks, without the countless no's that the no responses that I received when applying for jobs, the countless times when I haven't been able to make the top team, at a wrestling tournament, or countless times when I've competed in talent quests, and um, the feeling of that I didn't get in because of, based around my blindness, as the disadvantage. And I've experienced all of that. But so I guess I take the philosophy of taking the good with the bad. Um, I've experienced real sort of down, dark moments, wondering why me, when it's come to my blindness, especially sort of around the time when I'd lost a lot of my vision, and no longer able to see the faces of my family, my friends, not being able to watch TV or and that kind of thing. And so I've had those moments, but it's been a journey, and like I said, this journey has shaped me to who I am now. You know, you probably, if you ask my family and my friends, they probably say something different, but I'm quite happy, quite content with my life, and still have many things to achieve.
You still got a lot to achieve, and let me just be nosy and say, like what? Name a few things that are on your bucket to-do list that it's still for you to walk into and realize.
This time last year, I never thought that I'd be a manager of a service, and so I'm currently managing a support service at one of our education institutes here in Hamilton. Never thought that I was going to be able to do that, but I guess with the perseverance and the and being able to push through the challenges, I've been able to do that. Um, Studying at university level, I'm currently doing a postgrad design and innovation thinking. Did I ever think I was going to do that this time last year? Nope. Did I ever think that there is possibilities and opportunities for me to carry on to do my master's, pending the outcome of my current studies? Never in my wildest dreams did I think I was going to be able to have that opportunity to do my master's, but the opportunity is there for me to do that now. From a family perspective, I still have goals to be able to attend all my kids' weddings, be able to walk my daughter down the aisle, and be able to participate in some of those milestones, family milestones. Just just be able to grow old and be happy.
Grow old and mobile and be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like what you said there. But okay, so it is obvious that part of your journey today involved a lot of the what ifs, right? And it would have been more louder because it got louder when you wanted more, and then your vision just started went away, and that's when you started. What the hell? Can you wait until a little bit later? So for and you probably talk to this better as a parent. Right now, we've got a lot of our young, not just young Pacifica, but you as a father, soon to be a grandfather, and so forth and so forth. What would be some of the takeaways that you can advise them on when it comes to dreams?
Dream big. There is really substance to that whole saying of nothing is impossible. With technology, with I guess more of that awareness, and an expanding understanding around attitudes, is really providing the platform for our young Tanakisa'i Mahalo to dream big, and don't take no for an answer. I always say one no is one step closer to a yes. And be comfortable asking the uncomfortable questions. If you're being told no, you can't do this right now, be comfortable asking why not. Don't take somebody else's word for it, because this is about your life. This is not their life. It's your life. And just being bold.
Even if life smacks you in the face on your first go, you'll say get in your third.
Yep. You can, bruises heal. Don't let somebody else's philosophy around or sort of perspective on life be the ultimate outcome to your own life.
Let's talk about one of the challenges that, especially as tangata moana, always encounter, um, especially around the, you know, how our people always, the way we perceive disabilities, yeah, culturally,
Mhm. Yeah,
uh, because, you know, sadly, though some of us have now moved into Aotearoa, where it's a, you know, it's a Western construct that has opportunities that we don't have at home, but yet we're still clinging on to those, how we perceive disability. We always see it as somehow the grandmother ate the pig, and that's why Daniel came out the way
yeah,
he did.
yeah,
And you know, as Tōfā Mamao, we try so much to try and break that, but there are a lot of our communities still living in that place. So,
yeah.
and they, part of their excuses, we're just trying to, this is how we show our love. We're trying to protect our loved one. But can you speak to that in terms of what they think that, or just that whole mind frame and how it's 2024, man?
It's a really hard one to unpack, especially it's a belief and an understanding that's that's been of the view for generations. Um, and I guess there isn't a hard and fast answer to the question, except the fact that um, for me personally, by me being out here in the community, meeting with our ainga, our tangata moana, them being able to see me out here is contributing to um, breaking down that barrier, and all of the other tangata sa'ili malo that are um, out there in the community are also those same soldiers that are out there helping to break down those barriers. Like when you were talking before about the superpower, it was always something that I could carry with me. Um, Me being a tangata sa'ili malo, when I would go into a person's home, or go into a family's home, because it helped to start unpack the stigma that they have had for such a long time. That is still a long way to go, um, but I think I guess with the different movements that I see and hear out there in the community, out in our homelands, there's more conversations being held now about understanding the space that is tangata sa'ili malo, that, or I guess on the other side, that is disability. If you remember, quite a few years ago, they used to refer to disability as nutty, instead of the connotation that kind of came with that. And then they moved to uh, a literal term that translated to special needs. So there's a progression and a movement towards um, eliminating that whole thing around disability and more of a focus around what we can do versus what we can't do based on the disability.
We're building a pool of resources for our people to have to listen to and watch, and hopefully out of the many stories that we're gathering, maybe yours will touch a family that have been looking for a particular way to overcome something that they've encountered and feel like the why me situation, you know. So a lot of what you're sharing are a lot of those wisdoms. So but you know, it's and also for me the biggest thing is when people say, "Oh, why do we have these words?" Right, like the ma'i and also some people were saying "afianga tu mau," but I didn't really like those words because what they literally mean in English is permanent conditions, which means that the human cannot evolve at all. But what we are trying to show in Tōfā Mamao, and you are one of those. You know, you vision impaired, but you sing in a band, you MC events, you were a former wrestler. So, you know, and that's why for me, I like the word tangata sa inimalo, because it's that whole pursuit of success, and it looks different from everyone. And, you know you and I used to joke about the fact that a lot of able-bodied people, they have some of the most disabled minds ever. You know, it's about adding balance to the space.
Yep.
And those words don't exist in our languages, and I think that's why a lot of people find it really, they feel ashamed when they say it. Well, but I always tell people, no, it's okay. It's not our word.
If I wrap it up all in one, it's just like being able to try and shift that mind, change that mind shift from being a blind person to being a person who happens to be blind. So, you know, I'm a wrestler. I was a wrestler who happened to be blind. I'm a musician who happens to be blind. I'm a father who happens to be blind.
Can you provide some examples in terms of how your family changes their mindsets, right? For families that are, like I said, that are going through it now, maybe something to inspire some of them that will help them shift their mindset to what you just said.
Yeah, I guess I would ask our ainga, our families out there to, I guess, connect more with our with our other families, and really sort of really be exposed to the movements and what is happening out here in terms of the progression for tangata sa ilimalo. You know, it's you know, for example, I remember when I used to work for the Blind Foundation, and one of the things that I used to do in the community was provide blindness awareness sessions. And the purpose of those blindness awareness sessions was to help our Pacifica people understand about blindness, understand around preventable blindness, but also help understand it and unpack that whole thing around life beyond blindness. So I used to be able to, I used to deliver these sessions with my colleagues in the community, in our Pacifica community, and again, encompassing that with my, you know, with me tuning up with my special superpower was the opportunity to help our communities expand their understanding around that whole pursuit of success. You know, I really do embrace the philosophy of Tangata sa Ilimalo as an individual, Tangata sa Ilimalo as a collective, because I mean, without my collective, without my village, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I probably wouldn't have been able to succeed as much as I have. Like I said before, still got so many more, still got more successes to pursue and to achieve, and that's, you know, that's what keeps my life ticking over.